Hello Devicon students of Section A51, I'm Vivian Paliera.
And I'm Renee Capa.
And today we'll be discussing income distribution, labor, and unemployment.
We're gonna focus on Norway, Sweden, and Germany.
Okay, so first let's discuss labor.
So Viv, what is labor?
Labor is a primary factor of production. But hey Ren, do you know what the labor force is?
Yeah, the labor force consists of those people employed or seeking employment. Those seeking employment could be called the unemployed.
According to the World Bank, the labor force participation rate is the proportion of the population ages 15 to 64 that is economically active. In other words, all people who supply labor for the production of goods and services during a specified period. In the context of Norway, in the years 2006 to 2008, the labor force participation rate continued to increase. However, in the latter part of the year 2008, the labor force participation rate started to decline. In Germany, the labor force participation rate, as seen in the graph, increased in the years 2006 to 2011. However, it remained stagnant in the years 2012 to 2014. And lastly, in Sweden, the labor force participation rate continued to increase within the years 2006 to 2014, as presented in the graph.
So Viv, are there any other benefits aside from getting your salary if you're employed?
If you're employed, usually you get other benefits such as sick leave benefits, and even for parents, they can get maternity and paternity leave. So in the context of Sweden, so for sick leave benefits, if you miss work because of your illness, usually you get paid at the general rate of 80% of your normal salary, given the number of days you missed work. And also for maternity and paternity leave, or most commonly known in Sweden as parental benefits, usually parents can get up to 480 days worth of payment per child.
480 days?
Yes, 480 days worth of payment per child. So if you have 2 children, you get times 2 of that.
Nice.
So you can basically get a lot of money for just taking care of your children.
That's a lot.
It is.
But I know that in Norway, for their employees, pregnancy benefits are actually calculated by the Norwegian Labor and Welfare Administration, also known as the NAV. But then for those who are self-employed, their pregnancy benefits are calculated by their average pensionable income during the last 3 years of them working. Their pregnancy benefit is actually given at 100% of the eligible income. So that's actually also pretty big, don't you think?
It is pretty big.
It is.
To further explain, in Norway, employment and even the number of hours worked increased in the year 2006, which resulted in increased productivity. In the year 2008, the Norwegian economy started to decline. The signals that started indicating the downfall started in the latter part of 2007 when housing prices started to fall. Because of the financial crisis, the percent of hours worked and the percent in employment decreased by 1.8% and by 0.5% respectively. Since the number of employed persons had a smaller decrease than the number of hours worked, this shows that many companies in Norway were able to avoid layoffs by reducing the number of hours worked. In 2010, productivity increased by 1.5%, which is lower than what is usually observed at the beginning of an economic upturn. In 2005 to 2008, the Norwegian labor force and population increased. However, the labor force grew faster than the working age population, which is ages 15 to 74. This resulted in an increase in the labor force participation. Unemployment was at its lowest in April 2008, but because of the international financial crisis in September 2008, unemployment increased rapidly. Construction workers and manufacturing workers had the sharpest unemployment increase. The unemployment tripled from 2008 until 2010 for construction workers, while manufacturing workers more than doubled.
However, in Germany, it's much simpler. The mother gets her last 3 monthly paychecks in advance, and the total payment that she could get per day is at 13 euros.
To elaborate, women and the elderly started to involve themselves into the labor force, thus increasing the labor participation rate from the years 2006 to 2010. Even after the financial crisis, Germany's unemployment continues to decrease. The increase of unemployment during the crisis in 2009 by almost 160,000 persons turned into a decrease by 180,000 in the subsequent year. When it comes to unemployment, there are two systems that are legally based on Social Code 3, which involves active employment promotion and unemployment insurance, and Social Code 2, which involves basic income support for job seekers. After 12 months, when their insurance claims are completely used, those unemployed move from an insurance system to a basic income support system. In other words, it is a transition from Social Code 3 to Social Code 2. Usually, the stock of unemployment in the insurance system is tied more closely to the business cycle because these people have better formal qualification, less health restrictions, and find a new job more quickly. The approximate time for one person to find a new job is about 3 to 4 months. This is why the crisis as well as the recovery affected the insurance system more than the basic income support system. Those who are long-term unemployed are considered to be in both systems, but they are mainly considered in Social Code 2.
But Ren, did you know that even though you are employed, even unemployed people can get benefits as well?
Yeah, which is really cool actually. In Sweden, your unemployment benefit is actually based on your previous income level. So it's actually 80% up to a certain limit most.
According to Forbes, in Norway, the unemployed received 87.6% of their previous salaries for 500 days.
Meanwhile, in Germany, they have two types of unemployment benefits. The first one is a full employment benefit, which means that they get a percentage of their previous earnings. The second unemployment benefit is just a subsistence of allowance. So basically, they get paid a certain amount, but then it's not equivalent to the percentage of their previous earnings. Income distribution is how income is dealt or distributed among members of a society. Income distribution could only be perfectly equal if everyone had the exact amount of money being given to them. One of the ways to measure the income distribution of a society is through the Gini index. The Gini index measures the distribution of income among all the individuals and households in an economy, which could eventually result to a perfectly equal distribution. A Gini index of 0 will give off perfect equality. However, an index of 100 will give off a perfect inequality. It could be seen in the Gini index of Norway that there has been a great decline starting from 2007 all the way to 2011, but then it'll also eventually go up in 2012. For Sweden, it could be seen that in 2006, their Gini index was 26.5. From there, it suddenly grew up to 2008 with a Gini index of 27.1. But then, as the following years went by, in 2009, reaching 26.6. From 2009, it had been slowly going up all the way up to 2012 with a Gini index of 27.3. Out of the two countries, however, Germany had the highest Gini index. It starts from 2006 with a 32.8. Eventually, it went down at 2008 with a Gini index of 31.3. Since then, it has been going down all the way up to 2011 with a Gini index of 30.1.
So Ren, what does eurosclerosis mean?
Eurosclerosis is basically the term used for the very slow job growth in Europe. Also, it's used to describe an economy that's experiencing stagnation.
A German economist named Herbert Gersch in the 1970s used eurosclerosis to describe the economic stagnation that Europe has been experiencing. It has been known for it to have been resulted from the government being too overly generous with social benefits and policies and over-regulations of the welfare of the people. Too much welfare can be considered bad for employment because it does not motivate people to work as much as they initially need to. As mentioned earlier, those employed, especially in the said countries, such as Norway, Sweden, and Germany, get several benefits such as sick leave benefits and parental benefits. However, even if you are considered unemployed, you still get benefits, such as the unemployment pay, wherein the government gives you cash until such the time that you are able to find work. With this said, it would not matter if you were employed and unemployed. You will still get benefits, especially money, if you are either sick, with a child, even if you cannot find work. Because of such benefits, it does not exactly motivate one person to seek employment. If one gets paid for simply having a child, then some would rather continue to bear children, that way they would get paid without having to work. But then, they have to continuously take care of the children. The idea of eurosclerosis, which is defined as Europe's slow job growth, can be used to support this claim. Since Europe has been experiencing slow job growth, the fact that the numerous benefits that people can get both in employment or not impacts the person's motivation to work. Therefore, with less people working, the slower the job growth. An example of this is Sweden. They have good benefit programs for those who are on the job and as well as those who are not. However, they are high in demand for those construction and manufacturing backgrounds, those in the medical field, especially in dentistry, engineers, and even those with education backgrounds. It is said that if you are looking for a job, the best place to apply for one is in Sweden. This is because of the extremely high demand for those who are able to do such jobs. It is similar in a case in Norway, wherein recent statistics show that Norwegian employers are seeking employees from abroad just to compensate demand.